Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron without a camera, and we're here once again with the wonderful John Wedger, who has got big, exciting news for us. And before we get into that, how have you been, John? What you been up to?
It's just gone mad, and just when I think it's a pinnacle of madness, it gets even madderer. And it's just now is the time. I mean, I was on national television
Yep.
on the news this week. It was really interesting because I was ill prepared. I got a call early in the morning. I was busy doing something, working away, and I got up at 5:30 in the morning, and in the darkness, I put on some trousers, some jogging bottoms, and they turned out to be kids PE trousers that have been in the house, and forever. And I put these trousers on, and they were like 3 sizes too small. They're actually an S size, and I'm like large. And I put them on. I thought these are really tight and really short. And
Yeah.
I get called up to the news channel, and I said, right, well, you just have to take me as I am. I had to have a shave in a public toilet by a razor. Have a shave because I looked a mess. I didn't get my hair cut, but I had these trousers on that were just ridiculous. And I said, please don't show anything.
Yeah, from the waist up only, please. I want a contract written up that you're going to film from above the waist. Too good. How we doing, Reese? How are we doing? Just thank everyone for coming and joining us. John, can I just say the way you told that story, right? It sounded like you were like reading from a Tolkien novel. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the ominous glare of the midnight sky as I read.
They were Hobbit trousers. They were tiny.
Tiny.
I don't even know how I got them on. And I must have been so tired, and just sort of because I'd worked the night before and I was worn out, and I just sort of struggled into and then straight to the studios. But it was good. It's really interesting because the news presenter, her husband is an ex-criminal, and I know him. And I went, okay. I actually know your husband, and he's a guy that's turned his life totally around, and he helps lots and lots of people now. He's a brilliant man. And she went, yeah, that is my husband. It's really ironic that I know her. But anyway, that occurred. Didn't think much of it. But I've been doing stuff on the quiet with a news channel called LBC. They're investigative journalists, which is a guy you see there, Andy. And me and Andy have been putting some stuff together for a little while. And Andy, I gave him a lead to follow up, and he did. And this really, I was actually brought to tears today. And this story came out, and a retired detective inspector, a woman from the Met Police, was at some dinner party or something, I don't know what, and they were having a chat about a year ago, and one of them said, oh, well, do you ever speak to anyone from the old school, or, as it were? And I worked with this girl 25 years ago, maybe more, and someone said, oh, have you seen about John Wedger? And she was like, what about him? And they said, oh, look, he's gone crazy on the internet. He's like sort of a bit anti-police, and he's speaking about corruption and cover-ups and conspiracies. And she went, well, what you on about? He was always quite, because I was a balanced guy, I was never a nutter. I was very good at what I did. I must, if anyone can blow their own trumpet about anything, I'll just say I was good at what I did, And I'll leave it at that in respect to self-adoration. But this girl, she was brilliant copper, and she went, well, no, he's always a good guy to work with. What's up with him? She was concerned because we were pals. Yeah. And he said, well, watch his videos. So she watched one. Anyway, she gets back to her mate. She went, he's not mad. She said, he's telling the truth. This woman ends up working. I don't want to give too much away because this isn't out in the press yet. But she ends up working with survivors of the R word.
Yep.
Mainly women that worked on the streets that were addicted to Class A drugs and things like that. And they'd come into her and said, look, there's this copper speaking out about this investigation, but he's telling the truth, because when we were kids in kids' homes, it was happening. It happened to us. That's why we end up on drugs and everything else. But there's a policeman involved, and I always said there's a policeman involved. And I was told you can't say nothing about Elliot because I was threatened by the senior officer. Anyway, they said to this detective inspector, they said, look, you know, this copper was taking us places, and he was, you know, basically involved in it. Yeah. And they got a name. They both said the name of this guy, and she rang up the corruption police and said, look, you know, this guy's been doing this. And they told her to shut her mouth. I mean, where have we heard this before? And she come to me, she said, John, you know, you're telling the truth. There is a cover-up around this case and around what you've done. And I said, how far are you prepared to take it? She went all the way.
Hell yeah.
And all the tough guys I work with, and I'm not knocking, there's two coppers stood by me. One of them, his name is Paul, and he's happy to be named. Paul, a brilliant man. One of the best bosses I've ever had. Awesome. Belfast Catholic. That gives the game away. He stood up and spoke out, and he said, I'm not frightened of the British government. I've spent my life fighting them anyway, you know, Belfast Catholic boy. You know, and another one was a close colleague. The only two ever stood by me. No one else did. Always too frightened. I would, but. And this girl, she said, no, I'm with you all the way. We took an oath, John, to protect children. Yeah. And they've not protected them. She said, these kids got hurt bad. They got hard. And I went, yeah. And she said, I'm with you to the end. And I said, will you talk to the national media? She said, of course I will. And so we both went to an investigative journalist. And there you have it. That's where it is. And there is, I'm telling you now, there is more to come out. People have no idea. Sod the Rochdale, Rotherham, Muslimi gang. This is going to supersede that times a billion. And I'm telling you now, this is proper cover-ups of the highest possible level. We could possibly see a public inquiry into policing. We could possibly see senior officers arrested, and we could see the mayor kicked out of office over this. This is big. This is so big. And you're hearing it first here and now. And I'm telling people now, whatever you think of the news, there is no alternative. There's alternative news and all that, but on the whole, there's the news. You must keep abreast of current affairs. You must do it. Yeah. Because now is the time. I mean, there's more than just the BBC. I don't trust the BBC. I don't like who they are or what they are. But you've got LBC, you've got GB News. Whether they're controlled opposition, you're going to get all that conspiracy nonsense. Listen, at least stick with something mainstream and follow it, because there is, you know, going to be this subtext of the truth here, and we could see victims and survivors for the first time getting justice here, getting proper justice.
That's incredible, mate. It really is
amazing, and it's 20 years. 20 years I've waited for this day, and it took a woman from the police to stand up and take on the mic. And I said to her, "You have more balls than the Met Police rugby team put together." You know, none of the men, all the tough guys, not one of them stood up. Not one of them. Shame on them, so-called hard men and all that. Not effing one of them. A woman did it. Stood up and went, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Oh man, I'm telling you now, she's awesome. I'm not going to name her name.
No, of course.
It's unfair for me to do that. It's not out there yet. But she will get the recognition for what she's done. Yeah. She's saved the day. She has saved the day. The thing is with this, Ron, you know,
maybe ask her, John, when it does go all public, if she'll come on the show for this to talk about it.
Yeah, of course. I can't answer for her, but she will be on the national news. You know, she's speaking out. She's not holding back. She's one of these. She's got integrity. That's a key word here. Yes. She has integrity. She has a soul that is intact. It is non-negotiable, and you know, and she is doing victims and survivors a massive favour here. She is going to bring about healing to a lot of survivors. This woman. And oh man, I cannot believe it. When you're like me, a whistleblower, and you speak out, I got attacked by all these weird trolls saying, John, where'd you work for MI6? and all that. They're just nutters. They're mentally ill. They're twisted in the head. And I used to listen to it. I don't even, anyone who wants to start podcasting, do not engage with trolls. They are mentally ill, and they are thick, right?
And know how to secure your comment section. Okay, that's another thing. Okay.
Yeah, and just don't engage with it because they're thick. You're controlled up there. I went through all of that. The national media didn't want to know me, didn't want to go now, and it was only survivor groups, people like Pie Mash Films, that really stood by me, Bill Maloney and people like that. And they got a hard time for standing by me as well. And you're sort of on your own, and you're taking on this might of the establishment. I've had intelligence services get on my case and all sorts. I've had it all. And then, years down the line, all of a sudden, the national news actually gives me an opportunity. I grasp it, and then it just mushrooms. And I've been on all the major channels, bar the BBC and the ITN. They disbanded me, rejected me at the door. The BBC invited me down, and then they had a managerial decision not to let me in. So they can do, the BBC can do. And here's something I want you to hear.
John, you would have burst into flames the minute you crossed the threshold of the BBC, right? It's fiery pits of hell would have. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, they're base level liars, because I was asked to respond to Kemi Batanoff's proposal that they're going to look into all these GG gangs and all this stuff. And I was asked my comment, and I said, look, listen, why do you lot handcut on the red and the blue like there is some massive difference? There isn't. There's no polar opposite here. The only difference is in the colour. They've all had a chance to put this right. The Blues had a chance under Theresa May and many others. Cameron did absolutely nothing. In fact, they buried it. Theresa May buried 144 files given to her, which were allegations about PDF files and PDF files in Parliament. Leon Bretton did exactly the same when Geoffrey Dickens gave him something like 53 files, did exactly the same. So the Blues have had their chance. The Reds, they're doing exactly the same. It's like Jesus said, by their fruit shall you know them. It's deeds, not words. And so I said, no, I'm not listening to all of this rubbish. And I'm going to slag someone off here of a major journalistic importance.
Okay.
Head of current affairs for BBC, a guy called Tom Simons, then goes on to address the select committee or Parliament or one of the others, saying, we're going to take this seriously, we're going to look into this. Tom Simons, I sat down with you for a whole afternoon 8 years ago. I gave you everything, and you told me at Broadcasting House, right, that this has no journalistic value. So do you know what? It's there that way. BBC, Tom Simons, they failed. They've absolutely. People should be writing to Ipsos and Ofcom about this, because Tom Simons, head of BBC Current Affairs, I was sent there. A politician booked the appointment for me, sat me down with the head of BBC Current Affairs 8 years ago. This could have all come out 8 years ago. No.
Jesus.
And the BBC did nothing. And the same as Alexis J 2 years ago with IPSA, she could have put my stuff out there, everything. She had my file. She had my statement. I was a sworn witness, a national core participant in a higher tier of witness. Again, she did nothing. So this ain't about me, and this will never be about me. But what I'm saying is, because things have hit the fan now, everyone is jumping on like they're a saviour of this. The only ones who are the saviours here are those from the alternative media, like Brian Gerrish from the UK column, like Bill Maloney from Pie and Mash, that were the pioneers in putting this out there independently, unfunded. Not the national media. They followed Maggie Oliver and the Rotherham and Rochdale. They got more media coverage than they could possibly have ever dreamt for. But it was not representative of London. I'm not knocking them. I'm not in the game of knocking other people. This is not a competition.
Okay.
But why was London always left out? And why was people like me never listened to, never ever listened to? Right? Only now they see the worth of what I've had to say. And of course, people like yourself, Shaun Attwood, again, that didn't fail me and did give me the platform, even when Shaun actually faced deplatforming on a few occasions because of some of my rhetoric. But all these other major ones, I've all had it. And when it comes to national media, God bless, the Sunday Express. God bless them for actually taking the bold step and putting their faith in giving me a live national platform, which went on to be retweeted into the tens of millions by Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So we're connected. Your show is now connected with the Trump administration, albeit tenuously. There is a connection there because we've been talking about this from the word go. And now today, look at this. I cannot tell you what this means to me. When you read it, it might think, well, so what? You've got to look at the underlying issue here. And the fact is, potentially, this whole pack of cards is going to fall. And this guy here, this Andy, man, what a journalist. What an unbelievable journalist. He's really something else, this guy. He's a man of very, very little words. Very, very covert operator, but my word, he does a good job.
Yeah.
And if he brings it down, he himself has done more without a warrant card, without any extra jurisdiction than the Met Police and all the police forces put together have done. This guy here. And so when it comes to national media, LBC, bang on. Bang on. I'm not a big fan of James O'Brien.
There is a massive...
Whoa. Can you all hear me? John, can you hear me?
You there?
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I can hear you now. Someone rang. I beg your pardon. That was just weirdly timed. As soon as I clicked play here, all the sound cut off. And I was like, oh my God, what has happened? But yeah, sorry, John. Carry on, mate.
So I mean, we're working on a piece of work at the moment, and I can't say anything about it. I'm contractually obliged now. I'm working with a proper documentary crew. One of the partners is a very well-known celebrity, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Again, I'm just want to say I'm not allowed to say
right.
that.
No, listen. That's the way it's got to be, man. Like when it comes to this entire operation. I mean, you remember when you found out that the Brian case was being reopened and how much of a freaking boost that was. It just seems that since then, John, it is just snowballed me.
But we've been talking about this for so long and no one's listened.
Right? John, you don't have to tell me, bro. I'm part of the been screaming at the public for the last 8 years.
Yeah, I know.
I get it.
See, someone said to me years ago, society is in stratas. So I can walk down a ghetto part of London and I'll have a bus driver or has done it, a dust cart driver stop me. Yeah. Big Rastafarian guy come up and say, John, I was one of them kids, and give me a great big hug. And said, you must never stop doing this. Hate the old Bill, but love what you do, right? Brilliant. But the white middle classes have no idea who I am. I could go to a Tommy Robinson rally and people go, all right, John, well done. Keep going. Right. And but I go to the farmers protest with the tweed wearing, Burberry coat, collie dog owning farmers. They don't know who I am. They have no idea who I am because it's in stratas. But the moment you get onto the national media,
those farmers are the last members of society who pay TV licenses, John. They probably haven't seen a bit of podcast content unless it's on some weird platform that the Sunday Times recommended. Do you know what I'm saying?
So I'm putting out an appeal.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very specific. Right. So please, I can't have people ringing me up about family court issues and and all that. I want people that have been in the care system that were pimped out whilst in care, not afterwards, not before, but in the care system, to come and speak with me. And if you want, I can get you on my documentary. And at some point, there will be a remuneration for those who participate. But that's once we get contracted.
I've got a lead on you. I can contact a lady that I've still got her interview. It's on the computer that needs to be repaired, unfortunately. And when the computer's
but they've
repaired,
got to be prepared to
yeah,
get on camera and speak out.
She's on camera. She went through the British foster system, care system, and it was doctors arriving in the car park, kids being brought out, politicians arriving in cars in the car park, kids being brought out, and she only remembers one time that this happened, but she was taken to a mansion, was given a substance to drink, and then woke up back in the facility the next day and couldn't walk for 5 weeks.
If she is prepared to come and sit down with my crew, professional crew, we welcome it. But also, if there's anyone there that was an NGO or a social worker or even a police officer that was aware of this, or was sidetracked from it or whatever, please get in touch. But it has to be this topic. It cannot be people going on about Freemasons running the world and do you know what I mean? I can't.
It's a specific documentary, right? I mean, that's the way it's got to go. There'll be other opportunities, I would imagine, for a more broader subject matter as you progress, John. But it's specifically survivors of institutional care abuse.
That were pimped out. And even if anyone was a pimp, and covertly, not covertly, but under anonymity, wants to give, involved in the criminal side of it, wants to give their side of it. Again, get in touch. We would welcome you. We're not on judgment here. But if you're a pimp or you're involved in selling drugs to kids in kids' homes or something like that, or picking them up, taking them to saunas, please get in touch. Or even if you worked in the sauna and kids were taken there, please get in touch. But we're very, very specific. If you don't meet the criteria, we can't have you. Don't take it personally. But I'm not an advocate. I'm not a solicitor. I'm not giving free advice to people going through the family court. Social workers stealing children, and the police in Freemasonry, and all judges are Satanists. Please, not for me, not today.
Yeah.
All right. Because I do tend to get hit with that quite a bit, and it will bog me down, and I can't deal with it. So, but what we're dealing with now is big. I'm at the epicenter of this. We have an opportunity to show the world what went on. If we don't take it now, and not when people are ready or next week, because something could go kaboom in London, and all this is irrelevant. It will go right to the bottom of the pile.
Correct.
We could be bringing down an establishment here, a very perverted, twisted establishment. We could be making history here. So get in touch, because next week it might be a different story. This is time sensitive, but now is the time. Now, and I say to people, survivors, if you've not done it, go and report it to the police. Your abusers, report it. Even if they do nothing, report it. The sheer weight of it will statistically be logged. There will be a unique reference number, a URN, and then the Home Office will have access to them. So freedom of information will show that these cases exist. But there is no alternative to policing at the moment. There is none, and for the near future there won't be. So they're all we've got to utilise them, and this is how we bring about change. We bring about it by shaming. Unfortunately, that's how it works. It doesn't come about by good people doing good things. It doesn't. I've tried that one. It don't work. Now's the time to shame. We need to expose this. I hope there is a government inquiry. in this. I hope that those that silence me stand trial for malfeasance. I hope they do. I hope they get publicly named. And, you know, it's not me not naming names. It's not about that. You've got to be intelligent.
Yeah, of course.
Only a fool gobs off. And then what happens? You end up nicked.
Yeah, of course.
And silenced and be noticed. So what's
correct.
the point?
Well, people don't realize that, John. Yeah, I mean, you'll have had it. I've had it. You know, oh, you've got to release the information when you get it. You got to name names when you get it. It's like, listen, do you understand how evidence and the laws work with these people? Because they will shut you down and they will throw you in court.
Yeah, of course. There's a parable of a man down the well.
Yeah. And that, that's.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate. I mean, that's why I say to people, I've done this for years, and never once has anyone managed to get me in a courtroom. Never once. And I'm anyone that I've exposed, I would love for them to take me to court, because they're going to have to answer for all of the evidence that was in the dossiers that were produced, and not a single one will do it.
I've got original notes from a senior social worker.
Mm-hmm.
And in there's transcribed notes of the pie list. The pie list.
Yeah.
And there's actors, Hollywood actors are on there with their home numbers and their phone numbers. There's a well-known Hollywood actor. I've got his phone number and it's in this paperwork. I was with a journalist yesterday and we went through these notes, and I saw it all, and I saw politicians in their names, police officers' named, locations. There was a police station where films were made involving young boys. I can't say it on here, but it has gone to journalistic agencies and it will be disseminated accordingly. But the fact of the matter is the government and the police knew about this. They knew about it. Because the social worker sat down for 2 days with the Metropolitan Police and disclosed everything, and they did nothing. So this is going to come out, and these officers are going to have to account for why they did nothing, because the public want that, and the public will get what the public wants. So the public have to start screaming now.
Mm-hmm.
We want disclosure of these allegations. We want the truth coming out. We want an investigation into not what the national police have done, the Metropolitan Police. We've seen it with Rochdale, Rotherham. We've seen it with them. London kids need justice.
Yeah.
And they've not had the justice. We've got to give London kids the justice. So, at the moment, it's just us. We need justice, So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. You can see I'm animated because it's a massive victory in the name of decency and honesty and transparency. I remember Bernard Hogan-Howe, the former commissioner, who's now a Lord, and they put him a Lord with governance on child protection issues. He was part of the machine that did nothing. I named him in my civil case as doing nothing. I wrote to him a 23-page statement outlining everything. He did nothing. I gave him the reins list. He did nothing. And he is there in the House of Lords saying openness, transparency and honesty. And I'm thinking, do us all a favour, pal. Really? If transparency, openness and honesty turned up your front door, you'd peck yourself.
Let me ask you this, right? Because first of all, this isn't the first time that we've had hope that something may happen, right? And it doesn't even just mean in this country. Anything that seems to involve the possibility of a undercover PDF file, ring syndicate, whatever, seems to be quashed or whatever. Do you think that we're actually seeing the manifestation of what we could now say is the long game coming to fruition with all this?
Yes.
Because it's almost like every time there's something like this happens, but nothing happens, we get an extra 5% of the population that believes it, right? And over the years, it's gone up 5%, 5%, 5%. And now do you think we're at a majority versus minority within the public? And that's where the difference in the swinging's coming from, John?
Because in respect to my approach, I was on social media, and I had so many followers, and I mean, even my Facebook,
Yeah.
my YouTube, I don't know how many followers I've got, but it ain't a lot really. And I've been saying about this. I get on national media that one opportunity after 20 effing years, when
Yeah.
I've seen other police whistleblowers, because they go on about Muslim gangs,
Yeah.
are slapped all over the place. But because I don't, I'm subdued. And because I've gone on London, I haven't given a platform. The moment I have, tens of millions in a heartbeat, in an instant.
Yeah.
So we've always been out there. It's just the light has never been on us. Now the light is on us.
Yeah. 100%.
And each, it's a pigeon step. Each thing is an increment nearer and nearer to our goal. And like I've said, prove us wrong. I defy anyone to prove us wrong.
Yeah.
They can't.
John's ready. John's ready with the PowerPoint presentations for anyone that wants to go legal. Okay, like 20 years of John being frustrated and fighting the system. He ready to present his argument. You know, 100%.
Ron, let me tell you something. I was a single parent of 4 children, young children, right, from toddler age up until adolescence, right. I worked in a job which was harrowing at the best of times. I did not want to be investigating crimes of a PDF file nature, because my mental stability and my soul was saturated as it was.
Yep.
I never looked for the kids. They found me. It was a calling.
Yep.
And it was an undertaking that I took on reluctantly, but at the end willingly. And I realised it was the only line of policing that actually made a difference. And it was deliberately understaffed, hidden. And then when you get near to the truth, they attack you and bully you. You don't get that anywhere else.
Yep.
Can you imagine the investigation team on the Brinksmack bullying getting near to finding out who's done it and then told, shut your mouth, go away? It would happen. Right,
crazy.
but it does when it comes to PDF files, because it has huge blackmail value.
Of course.
So, and this was a call. It's not something I wanted to undertake. I wanted to be making a huge amount of money on the flying squad or the murder squad, or and going on these,
See, that's interesting.
trips abroad. But
I never realized that about your journey, John, that you basically were so mortified by what you seen by that department that you felt like you needed to step up and do something about it.
But it was wrong. And when you spoke to survivors, and then there are a few turning points. One I mentioned a lot is when I was jailer and I went down to take a prisoner out for a cigarette, and he was a smackhead, right, and a burglar, a drummer. We used to call them drummers, because he used to drum houses, burgle houses. We call it drumming. And he was a crackhead, smackhead drummer. And no one had time for these people. They didn't even like them. They got treated pretty appallingly, told to shut their mouths. And if they rang the cell buzzer more than twice, they got a bit of a spanking at times and all that. Anyway, so I went down and this guy was playing up, because the doctor would give them things called DFs.
Okay.
And they were a substitute for an
opiate. Yeah, they get called diffs, right? That's like what people call them. Honestly, see the things you hear junkies talking about in corner shops in Scotland is mad, right?
Yeah, diffs and jellies.
Diffs, the jellies don't exist anymore, man. Jellies are gone. That was an interesting.
Well, they were coagulating in the veins and causing blockages.
Yeah. Well, the problem is they made jellies, but they made them taste like coconut. Like, you don't want to make a substance like that taste anything remotely delicious, because they were just gobbling them all up.
Yeah, that was a huge strike, because it's temazepam jellies.
Yeah, and they would call them the Transformers. People would have one and then go and have a pint of Stella, and the two different chemical compounds would just unite, and it would be outrageous.
I mean, Scotland, especially the West Coast. I mean, there's some subcultures there that would. I watched a documentary once about heroin addicts in Glasgow, and there was a mother and daughter, and they lived in a shed on an allotment by a railway line, and that was their life. They lived in the shed in the freezing cold winters. They did a thing called midgie raking, and they were going through the skips, and they came across a Rick Astley CD, and they were over the moon. They thought they found, the Holy Grail, and they went and sold it for £1 and bought a jelly with it. And thinking, oh, word, you know, it's yeah, weird. But anyway, so this heroin addict lad, I was never horrible to people, and he was banging. I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No, I'm rattling." You know, I said, "Well, do you want a cigarette?" And he went, "Please, please." So I got him a cup of tea, and I gave him a cigarette, and I took him out the cell. I didn't have to. I took him out. Back then, they could smoke in the cells.
Yeah.
And I took him out, and we sat down, and we had a cup of tea, and a cigarette, and I said to him, what sort, I was naive, and I said, "What's all the heroin about? Why don't you just drink beer?" And he went, "Pal," he was the same age as me. He said, "If you'd have had my life, you'd be doing heroin."
Yeah.
And I went, "Well, what was your life?" And he went, "I was in a kids' home, and I got RAPED."
Yeah.
And it hit me, and I thought, I said, "How old are you?" He went, 8. And I'm thinking, how does that even work? I didn't know how it even, the police didn't even bother training you about the gynecological issues regarding crimes against children. You've got a 5-minute input on child abuse. You've got a 3-day input on greeting different ethnic groups and different handshakes. 3 days of that. But child abuse, we were told it's a woman's job, and usually women that come back from maternity leave, so don't worry about it. You won't be doing it anyway. And that was the official input. So this guy,
what did they say was a woman's job?
Child protection.
Wow.
Yeah. and the input on it, the books was about that thin. It was like 1 page, and we were told you won't come across it anyway. But if you do, there's a woman that will deal with it. And
you summed up Britain in 20, and it summed up Britain. 5 minutes on child abuse, 3 days on different cultural greetings. That sums it up.
Yeah, we were taught by one guy, a community leader from Brixton, how to greet, and there was this handshake. I can't do it, called the chicken, and you went up to someone and you did this, and I sat there and thought, "Oh, am I on an alternative planet? What is going on?" To greet a Rastafarian with the chicken as a policeman.
Oh,
and he said it would build bridges. Can you imagine it? Building a bridge with it was a nonsense.
Listen, when we're here to tell you stop abusing kids, what difference does the handshake make? You're going in cuffs, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? Stick your chicken where it don't shine. Get the cuffs on.
That I was taught how to shake hands doing the chicken bridge. Honestly, it was this bizarre, and this bloke had the audacity, and he got paid $2,000 to give us his presentation. Someone told me he gets paid $2,000 for this. So what? Well, it's mental. Anyway, and I found out it was a convicted drug dealer as well. It was just mental. But that aside, so that was the first time where the guy went, "Don't ever put your kids in care," and it really changed me, and it changed how I treated heroin addicts. Yeah, and it really did. It was very humbling for me, and it was an education, and I'm very grateful. Yeah, God willing, the guy's still alive. You know, but he had that to cope with, and he said to me, it's like being wrapped in cotton wool and drifting off to heaven." I'm thinking, wow, I'll fancy some now. It was
right. Yeah, it's the pro feelings on the drug pitch are great. It's the other 98% of it that they don't really talk about in the pro speeches for it all. Do you know?
Yeah, there was this cartoon in the Daily Mail, and it really made me laugh. And it was these 2 top-hatted Victorian gentlemen. Yeah, and they're in an opium den and they're injecting themselves with I don't know, like heroin, like
substances.
Yeah. He's got this needle, and he says to his friend, he said, by Jove, this heroin's rather Moorish."
Yeah, it is.
Made me laugh for years. That did. Right, Moorish, so British. And, it's ever so Moorish.
Do you know what? It's funny because I wonder what came first, that cartoon or the British TV show Peep Show. Right, there's a character in that. Super John Wedger. The fucking wedge, my G.
Yeah,
Superhand. And he's like, "Superhand, you've not been smoking that crack here." And he's like, yeah. It's really Moorish.
It's really Moorish. I know. Yeah, they're at a party, aren't they? And he's.
Could you just imagine? The world goes to absolute tatters. All of these substances are legal, and you turn on the TV, and it's like, "Have you had a stressful day? What you need is a hard hit of crack." It's really Moorish.
Well, with Super Hands, he dropped acid at his dad's funeral, didn't he?
Right? Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny. We've all known a super hands on one scale of extreme or the other. We've all known a super hands. That one guy that
what an amazing bit of comedy. It's done in this genre that, you know, the filming of it'd never been done before, is it? 9 series they did of that. It's anyone
incredible.
who's not seen it, oh wow, it's brilliant.
They done one season with the BBC, and then the BBC cancelled them, and then Channel 4 went, we'll take that, thank you very much. And it's in any series where you have figured out a way of making 2 men sit on a longboat and one accidentally eat the cooked pet dog remains of a girl they're trying to talk to because they're morons. Like, how do you it's incredible.
He runs over someone's dog and cooks it. I mean, it's just Jeremy. Brilliant. But there's a series on BBC at the moment called Mammoth.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's like Minder, but set in a school with a guy that's a throwback from the 1970s. Honestly, one of the funniest things I've seen in. I don't like the BBC, but they do a cracking comedy. They do an absolute blinding comedy. But anyway, going back to it, this heroin addict lad changed me. And then when I eventually got into child protection, I interviewed a little Jamaican kid, and he'd been brought over to England from Jamaica and just put with auntie and uncle. I don't know. There's sometimes some of these communities have this auntie and uncle, and it actually isn't. It's just a term, and they did the most appalling things to this kid, and this kid contracted AIDS, and he was actually dying of AIDS. And he would get very upset about things, and he would get a bit angry, but he had no mum and dad. They were very brutal to him as well. And what really upset me, he was a tiny little boy, and he sat there like in the fetal position like that, and he wasn't allowed to play in the playground with other kids in case he hit them and potentially gave them AIDS. And I thought, who touched this poor little boy in at night? And it was the only time I ever interviewed anyone that I broke down, and I couldn't contain myself, and I had to stop the interview. And I actually said to my colleague, can you deal with everything? I'm going. And I ran out of the interview suite, which was in a hospital, and I got on the underground, went home, and I went, and my kids were at home, and I just hugged them. I just had to go home and hug my kids. And I just realised how precious and beautiful they were, and how evil some people are. And this that kid had a massive. He may well be dead now, but it had a massive effect on me. And I realised that I'm needed to stop men, and of course women do it as well, but men doing this to kids. And I thought, in my name, they won't do this. And I had to stand by that. And I never thought I'd get any opposition. I never thought a senior officer would bully me and threaten to take away my children and my job and my liberty for doing the most fundamental, decent thing, and that's protect children. And I thought my colleagues would stand up for me, and they didn't.
No.
Not one of them, bar the 2 beautiful people I mentioned, Paulie and another one. And now I've got this girly colleague. Honestly, I could hug her now for what she's done. I don't want to say her name, but if she watches this, you are one beautiful person. You have changed the whole landscape now. There is no going back now. There is no going back. The Met Police are in trouble. They're in trouble now, and all you need is that corroboration. That's all you need, that corroboration. And this is why this documentary is important, right? But also, I've been in contact with a group called Seen and Heard.
Okay.
And they're former prep school and public school boarders, the poshes, and they've set up a charity because of the abuse they went through in these homes. And I've spoken to a few of them now. I spoke to one. His colleague in this is a bloke called Charles Spencer, which is Lady Diana's. So we've got a connection now with royalty, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles Spencer is a massive advocate for the abolition of these boarding schools. And when you hear the abuse that these upper and ruling classes put their children through, oh man, it breaks your heart. And what is worse, Ron, who's got any sympathy for the poshes? No one. No one cares for them. They've got no sympathy for them. They're posh, chinless morons. Get on with it. But they suffered so much. This charity, when
Children
they
are
got sent
children.
off, they thought one or two would come forward. Within a month, they had 3,000 people came forward to them. Broken men. And some of these go on to be leaders in industry and military. And they're broken.
Yeah. Do you remember the documentary that was on Netflix about the two twins? And one of them had completely disassociated from the abuse,
one remembered,
had no memory, loved his mum, all of this, and the other brother did. And the documentary was him sitting down and explaining it all to him. Do you know, that is one thing that fascinates me about trauma and all of these cases, how the human mind processes everything, right? Whether it's an abuse victim, whether it's somebody who goes on and, you know, gets a drug habit and collapses, or someone that goes on to abuse, or in the same with serial killers and all the rest of it. That was one of the most fascinating things ever, because
it is. And also the cognitive dissonance and this need to protect the establishment, you know, your family, the honor, the respect. And when you look at these boarding schools, they were set up to provide fodder to build the empire. So what they wanted was gladiators that would go anywhere in the world and conquer, mainly in the name of Christianity, as it was back then, but to take for the empire the land. So these were men that would go from our you know, abysmal climate. The next day they could be in the heat of the jungle and survive and get on with it, because they were tough emotionally, physically. You know, they were hard people because that's how they were brought up, totally devoid of emotion and any belly aching and sobbing. You know, it really, what sums it up, Richard Curtis always lets it leach into his films, and especially when you've got Melchor in the old Blackadder Goes Forth. You know, Stephen Fry plays that Field Marshal, doesn't he? The, you know, absolute psychopath.
Right.
You know, have you not seen it? The last Blackadder.
No,
in the trenches.
I don't know if I was. I think I was just too young,
right,
to fully appreciate Blackadder. But if whenever it pops on, like you get the odd classic episode that pops up on YouTube and stuff like that, and it is quite good. But it just
Blackadder Goes Forth. It's
hilarious.
It really is like an attack on the system, really, and you know these lions led by donkeys, and he illustrates it in a comedic way really, really well, Richard Curtis. But I would have thought Richard Curtis himself has come from the middle class that's gone through, because all his films, you know, what's that, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, in there, you know, they go on, these posh kids going, oh, you know, I was buggered senseless at Eton, you know, taught me a thing or two. You know, and it's all that sort of innuendos all the way through, references to institutional sodomy, you know. But I
mean, it was, because I'm just trying to remember, because Blackadder was always different timelines, right? Is that right? Because I think I remember being a little kid and watching one where it was like medieval times, and then the next series it was something different, and I was just too young, and I was like, nah, put it back to the medieval times. But I remember it, and there was a lot of references to that. And do you think that time, you know, when we watch back the Jimmy Savile interviews, everything's different now, the way he acts, the things that he says, all of this, do you think there's going to be this collection of media from the last 40 years where people have been screaming out in their own subtle ways through
and I want us to celebrate that one day. I want us to get all those that have been speaking out and really have been unheard to all come together and say, we've told you. And I want all those who deliberately curtailed They deliberately damned. They bridged. No, didn't bridge. Sorry, they blocked the truth getting out there. I want them all to be shamed, and I think the BBC have gone a long way in blocking this stuff, without a doubt. I think they're an
understatement of the year, John. Understatement of the year. They've not only blocked this from happening, but in some ways you could argue they facilitated the growth and the normalization from within the upper echelons, the political and the celebrity status groups. It's normalized.
Well, I think.
Do you know what else is normalized? All the people that aren't involved in it turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
because it's uncomfortable. You have this conversation that no, don't talk about that. It's right. Football, Strictly Come Plastering, or in the jungle or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
They'll talk about that inane, brain-rotting crap. But when we talk about conversations which could change society for 3 generations, they don't want to do it. So where's the intellectual maturity there?
Yeah, listen.
Where's the spiritual maturity? It ain't there. These are idiots that just want to be entertained.
Yeah, I think in the last couple of interviews I've done, I've made the same point where everyone, when they watch a podcast, are really proactive about this subject. The podcast ends. Most people will forget everything that's been said. Okay, but they genuinely want to know, they want to be informed, and they want to be able to pass this information on. But this subject is the equivalent of when you put your hand over a flame. At some point, your brain pulls your hand away because it gets too hot. It's the conversational version of that. People recoil. And
but because it affects so many people, whether
of course
people are victims of it, whether people perpetrate it, whether people think about it. I mean, I have people come to me and they say, John, I've got a baby and I was badly sexually abused as a child. And when I hold my baby, I'm frightened I'll get an erection. I have men say that to me, crying, saying that to me, because it's a real, genuine concern. And this is what happens when people abuse children. You mess everything up. You've no idea. You might as well get the most fragile, beautiful bit of china doll and just smash it on the floor. And our government needs to start taking these crimes seriously. And if there is a Freemasonic cover-up, then the Freemasons, why don't you speak up? Surely you don't want to entertain PDF files in your Masonic lodges. Surely you don't. And if you do, then you should be abolished. If you entertain that, it's the same as the church. Tonight, there's a documentary about Bishop Smythe and how the Archbishop protected him. If the Church of England, if this is fundamentally what you do, then you have to go. Yeah. But if you are the servants of Christ, then why don't you obey the doctrine of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where it clearly states, anyone who causes the young ones to fall away from me, it is better that you put a millstone around your neck and jump into the depths of the sea. This is the abhorrence that our Saviour Jesus Christ had for those who hurt children. So the Archbishop, the Pope, get a grip. And if you can't get a grip, get out. And it's the same for all of them. And I say that to these commissioners of police. If you do not deal with this, get out. You go. Politicians, if you do not have these conversations in Parliament, these committee meetings in Parliament about this, then you go. And we get people in who will have them. And we get police officers who will be tasked with dealing with this. And it's the same as members of the public. You were quite busy ringing up when someone was walking their dog twice during lockdown. But when you heard a kid screaming next door, you did nothing.
Oh, man.
So on every level, we have to take governance and ownership for this.
100%. When it comes to child safety and the safety of vulnerable people and women, we have to understand there is an element of policing our own. I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about anything like that. But, John, I myself am riddled with guilt. I can't walk past a bee in winter on the pavement without picking it up and trying to get it to come back to life. And I used to have a neighbor, and they would get real drunk, and the kids would be running around the house screaming 4 a.m. And it was really odd, right? And the amount of times I was banging on that door, banging on that door, banging on that door, banging on that door, because I'm not going to be the guy who wakes up because a 5-year-old's fallen out the second story window at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to be that guy.
I'm going to call someone out now. I'm going to call out the former, who's now a dame, the former commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. Dame Cressida Dick, right? I
What?
despise this woman, right? I sat in a meeting with her. It was meant to be me and her, right? In which I was going to disclose my findings.
Okay.
She sat in, you know, holding court with 9 other women. I think they might be in some special club together from a Greek island or something like that.
Maybe, yeah, who knows, right?
Who knows? Who knows? But I know definitely 2 were, because I work with these girls, right? And I told her everything what was going on, and I said I can take a child out of a kid's home. I can groom that child. I can then have sex with that child. I can then get my friends to have sex with that child. I can then get that child to get her friend involved so we can do it to them. And you don't have one, not one dedicated police officer out of a force of 33,000, not one. They had a task force to deal with transgender crime, which equated to 0.0001% of criminal allegations. I don't think they ever dealt with a proper allegation. And they had a team of about 9, right, who did nothing, right? Transgender crime, come on, really? But where it comes to the GG stuff, not one.
That's
right?
unreal.
And I said, yeah, you won't do nothing. But if I leant over my fence and called my neighbour a PA, what was it? I said, you'd have me arrested, you'd have me on a special register and evicted by the end of the day.
John, if you typed it out on social media, you'd be in jail.
Of course. And because I said that P word, one woman went like that. I said, you know, isn't that amazing? I say that word, you take a sharp intake of breath. I've just spoke about RAPing underage girls, and no one even blinked. They were heartless, stone-faced, I don't know, degenerates, I'm going to call them. And she did nothing, that woman. And she's a Dane. Who can house the Lord and put in charge of child protection? This has to change, people. People of England, make this video go viral. Send it to your MP, right? Send it to Parliament. Send it to the Commissioner of the Met Police. Send it to whoever. But don't sit on it. We only move forward by speaking out. And we bring about, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just campaigning for decency. And I don't like people, and I might be odd in this, Ron, I don't like people putting their body parts in children.
Dude, I've been saying it for years. I've been saying, how hard is it?
Wrong.
For over 40 years, I've managed to avoid that situation. It can't be that freaking hard, people. It's just not abuse a kid. Like,
don't do it.
It's bonkers. But again, it's one of those things when we get down into like the real. There's so many reasons that people prey on children, right? There's so many of it. And John, you and I have spoken so much about the ripple effects of trauma and abuse and the cycle that keeps going. And we have to assume that all of this perpetuation of the cycle of abuse, it has to come to an end. It has to. And this seems like the best opportunity in a long time. What would you say? I mean, you just gave us some advice.
Do you know what therapy?
Right, on you go, John.
Therapy. Let's have therapy. Let's do what the Scandinavians done. You know, let's not brush this under the carpet like the Met Police have done.
Okay.
Right? If someone is in custody, serving a sentence for these offences, shall we not find out why? And once we found out why, you know, then work out what risk they pose. If they pose a continued risk and refuse any form of rehabilitation, then they stay put, right? They stay put, and they must be reparations. They must put right what they've done wrong. But if there is a way in which, because most of them have had it done to them, you can prevent it. And there are preventative programs that are 90% effective. There's 10% of that population that can never, ever be let out. And if they are detected to stay indoors, I'm not siding with them. But if we could prevent them from doing it, we could potentially, in dealing with one, save 200 others. It makes sense to do that, right? And there's so many other things that we need to do. But also when people are in prison for offences of violence, find out why. And find out what happened to them. And there's a good chance someone interfered with them. And give them therapy as well, so they don't come out dysfunctional. They don't go on to beat up their wives, because most domestic violence perpetrators have been hurt, right? It's cruelty and it's control, you know. So we might prevent domestic violence to the degree that it's at now. We might massively reduce it. We will instantly drop the prison population by 80%. You know, train people, probably train up proactive social workers that recognize abuse. Stop the liberalism in the schools, and have teachers that used to be like that look out for kids that are in trouble.
Yeah.
But kids that are coming in disabled, kids that are asleep in the lessons. Why? Is that hypervigilance because they've been awake at night because something happens? Kids that cover their stomach, boys that put their hands over their groin. Look for these signs that are indicators that all is not well at home. You know, stop protecting the abusers. Stop being so liberal. Stop being so lily-livered and faint about this. Start being stoic. And adults, you know, lionesses. We've got to bring lionesses back. And men should be lions again. And we've got to start protecting our pride. And not what we're doing now. We are failing our children, and it has to stop.
Yeah. John, I'm just gonna throw two little news reports at you, right? And this is sort of turning a corner here, because I'm gonna say something to you that might sound crazy, that is either going to be a crazy statement that comes to nothing, or it's going to be something that people are going to be referencing in 10 years' time. Because the NHS have just approved drug trials in the UK. And I often wondered, if you imagine you could give a child a drug that when they turn 16, they still look 12, right? That there'd be no crime committed then if somebody was to have sex with that person in the UK, right? Because they're now 16. So the NHS have now approved 200 trials for the puberty blocking transgender drugs for UK children. Now, I'm sorry, but a UK government that is absolutely rinsed with child abuse, promoting the extension of childhood, the prevention of puberty, seems to be quite a scary concept.
One of the strongest opponents to these drugs, and I don't know the name of it. If I hear it, I'll remember it.
Yeah,
was a guy called Charlie Kirk. He was so against it, and he was medically explaining that these drugs are so dangerous that they don't even get. And what they're for, they're actually for cancer patients in advanced cases, I think, of prostate cancer, things like that. They're very, very dangerous. And they reluctantly give them to adults, yet they're willingly given to children. What is the mindset behind that? We've got to look at who's authorizing this, who's endorsing this, and why aren't politicians standing against this?
Oh, this to me is the evil villain in this movie, who is putting we will make children that are grown-ups that look like children. That's evil living in a skull cave, shizzle, John. They're trying to keep, if they can create a drug, John, that puts out a way to make a 16-year-old look 9 or 10, we're done. Okay, we're done.
Well, not only that, it will probably prevent that kid reproducing. And
those kids.
Our population of indigenous people, we're not producing children. It's an unsustainable, thing that's going on here. We will soon.
Listen, speak for yourself. Ron has produced 7 children, so speak for yourselves, everybody. Ron is highly fertile.
But even saying that, Ron, I've got 4 kids. People tend to have cock-a-doodle poodle dogs and things like that now, and house rabbits. They don't want children. They're very selfish now. But you go back to my grandparents' generation, 15, 16 kids was normal.
Right? Winters were cold, John. Okay, winters were cold.
And especially, I went to school in a very Catholic area, and the Irish kids, most of them are from a family of 5, most of them, and that was in the 70s. And their families were even bigger. So it's only recently. I know it's very expensive to have children, but we should be having children. And we got a nation, these Gen Z, I don't even want to term it. They're very immature emotionally because they don't have any responsibility. And you're right, we can't afford kids. Well done, Louise 8133. You're right. They've done it on purpose. See, this is what they call a hydra. It's a multi-headed beast. The devil does things for more than one reasons. We can't just tie this down to one specific issue. This is an attack on humanity at so many levels.
Yeah.
But there is amongst that this awakening, like we're seeing with this Andy from LBC. People are actually saying, do you know what? I'm going to make it my mission to stop this. Mm-hmm. And we've seen on so many of these press agencies, not the national ones, but you know the independent ones, that saying, do you know what? We don't like this either, and we're going to go against it. And the public are like, brilliant, we're all with you. And they are going against the government-sanctioned narrative, which is false. And I don't know, I think we're on the precipice of some sort of spiritual revolution here, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely something coming, man. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a massive alien spaceship, okay? But other than that, that's what I'm pinning it on, because it needs to be something so ridiculous for the amount of craziness and panic decision-making that the elites have done over the last year. Something's going on, 100 million%.
What you want is this spaceship to land in a very deprived area, don't you? You know?
Dude, listen, I just want this. If it turns up over LA, I'll be really disappointed.
Yeah, no, okay, somewhere rough.
I'll be really somewhere in Wales, somewhere really obtuse in Wales, like over a valley in Wales, you know. But I tell you what, John, there was a TV show and a book about aliens making first contact, and the alien ship arrived, and it took them about 1.5 or 2 years to show themselves to humanity. They got rid of all of our disease, made us feel really calm and welcome. And the reason that they were worried about showing our faces, because the aliens were these 8 foot tall, red, hoofed, black horned, winged aliens that just looked like the devil, right? And it was this biblical reference and the fact that Earth's time was up. So we were the last generation. They let us all die out. They sterilized us, and then they blew up Earth, right? That was the whole shtick, right? But it would be interesting if a day ever happened where a ship appeared in the sky, how many freaky biblical references to...
Well, I think the book of Ezekiel does, doesn't it? It's got references to aliens. And I think the Orthodox, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church still looks at some of these books that haven't been canonized, because it's canonization that sort of blocks some of these books from getting into our Bible. So I know that the Ethiopian and the Eritrean Christian Church, they still go by some of these real old scripture, and I'm sure the book of Ezekiel's got it in there. There is another book, I can't remember what it is, and it goes on about giants. Well, the book of Numbers in the Old Testament, of course, what are two occultic numbers? 1333. Look in the book of Numbers 1333. It goes on about the sons of Anak, the giants.
Right.
Genesis 6, Genesis 3, it goes on about the giants.
Well, here's a little tidbit that I found out. Did you know the story of the cherubs?
Yeah, the cherubim and the...
Well, how the Bible describes them like this. They're 4-headed angels with a hawk head and a wolf head.
Yeah.
Then they decided, now let's make them little naked kids.
Yeah.
Right? And it was during one of the renditions of the Bible, you know what I'm saying, where they were like, okay, well, that sounds a bit out there. People aren't going to be able to relate to a 4-headed hawk lion angel. Let's give them.
The Bible still mentions about him, doesn't it? About the head of an ox of a thing. That's where the word cerebral comes from, isn't it? From cherub.
Mm-hmm. It was just an interesting one for me, because
I'll tell you a really interesting one. It's the children of St. Martin.
Okay.
It's really, really interesting, and it was I think in Norfolk or Suffolk. There's a town called I can't remember what it's called now, but these 2 kids appeared. And they were lost, but they had green skin, and they said they were from a land called St. Martin.
Okay.
And it's really weird, because a lot of churches that you've got in London, you've got St. Martin's in the fields. They're all references to greenery, and even the island Saint Martin in the Caribbean is because it's the greenest island, so it associates greenery. But these 2 children, the records were made that there was, they were actually officially recognised. One died, and the other one survived, and the greenness went. But they said they were from a land in the earth called St. Martin, and it's the Green Children of St. Martin. If you Google it, and it's official. I listened to a couple of things on it. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and like, there's actually a couple of things that I found out that I wanted to just get your opinion on, because another one, and this isn't new, but it was just something that popped back. Was, you remember when there was the sculpture that done all of the statues around London, and one of them was on the BBC, and all of the other places that had these statues removed this artist.
That was Eric Gill.
Yeah, he turned out to be a horrible man
who was having it off with his own sister and his pet dog.
Yeah. And the BBC refused to take down. Now, I just want to say, this is the only image I can show of this. But do you see? A bloke
smashed off the Dinkle area, didn't he? With that
yeah. So you've got this man here, right, who looks a bit like stereotypical bearded man, right, with a little naked boy in front of him. Full-on naked little boy with
it's meant to be the god Ariel.
I don't get, why are there so many naked kids on stuff, John? Like, I'm sorry, John. John. When was the last time you were at Dobie's Garden Centre and you had to go up to a member of staff and be, where's all your naked kids with their bits hanging out, ornaments from a garden, mate? Where is it? Like, because no one's buying this, John. No. But if you brought this out in IKEA, no one is buying this.
But when we look at this as an investigator, if there's nothing to see, move on, right? You've got Eric Gill, who was incestuous, a man into bestiality.
Yep.
That had PDF tendencies. He produces statues of little kids being fiddled with.
Right.
For a government institution,
right,
that has done nothing but procure and protect PDF files anyway. Right. But there's nothing to see. Please move on.
Right, but this is do you know it's even more fucking annoying when you put it like that, John. Okay, because if this was just outside Greg's and someone had just made a mistake, right? Sound. But when it's outside an institution that housed Savile and a freaking, what was the wildlife guy that was banging all the dogs and stuff? Like, this
Terry Nutkins
goes on, mate. It just goes on.
Well, you could make it up, could you? Rolf Harris and
right.
I mean, Rolf Harris. You know, it's the intelligence of bloke. Put in. Was it Rolf Harris or was it Huey Green? Puts in an appeal and gets a bigger sentence.
I love that. I love that. You know,
and their wives stand by them. That's what gets me. They have their wife walking with them. And then you've got that horrible snake of a man, Max Clifford, you know, that denigrated people, publicly humiliated them. And my bestest friend, Bill Maloney, done him. He doorstepped him outside the court at Westminster, and he really let him have it. He absolutely, Max Clifford, he went right in his face.
Hang on 1 second. I don't know if it was Terry Nutkins. Was it Terry Nutkins?
Yeah, I think he was accused of it, yeah.
No, hang on. I need to get this right. Give me a second. Just give me a second. Hang on a second. BBC Wildlife Dogs SEX. Because it doesn't look like that guy. Here we go. Hang on. Yeah, Adam Britton was the guy from the BBC.
Listen, journalistically, have we got any dirt on Terry Nutkins? So
I don't know. I just want to apologize to Terry Nutkins and his legacy. Okay, it was a different guy at the BBC. This is what the BBC's done, Terry. Okay,
Terry, we apologize.
We apologize, Terry.
We got it wrong.
Somewhere there's a lawyer on retainer and a Shaun Attwood.
Yeah, we have it wrong.
Going, oh my God.
The earliest opportunity, we apologise to Terry.
Yes, this guy right here.
It was a journalistic error, and I do apologise. So.
Yes, exactly. And I tell you what, who was it that somebody in the side chat actually said Terry Nutkins really? And I was like, oh no, I better just double check this. But yeah, this was the guy here. This was the guy right here.
I don't know him, but
and former BBC geologist Adam Britton, who filmed himself arring and torturing dogs, is condemned. No, I wonder what for. What do you think they're condemning him for, John? I imagine his home movies. Crazy for 10 years, man. But just mad.
I mean, why would you even do that? I mean, it's just
John.
And then give him a job doing it. And
this is the animal version of a PDF file. This is the guy who goes and works at the fairground. This is a guy who wants to do this to animals and became a wildlife presenter. Like that's mad. Proper mad.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's getting paid for his hobbies, isn't he?
Oh.
You know, fiddling, dog bothering. I mean, I mean, it just defies belief, doesn't it? And they all come from the same cesspit. You know, that is the BBC, and then you get Dame, is it Janet Smith that chaired the independent inquiry into it and went, no, there's nothing to see, nothing to see. No. I mean, how much does she get paid for this? You know, just to come out with a lie, and allow this horrendous criminality to continue. How did they ever think that they would get away with it? It's just an insult to intelligence and decency. It's why are they still here? Why do people have to pay money for it? Why?
I agree. And there's one more news article I want to show you, John. This is quite a famous case. You obviously heard of the UFC and MMA and things like this. The former heavyweight champion of the world, Cain Velasquez, right? He was involved in a lawsuit a few years ago where he chased a man down the street who had AR'd his son, right? And basically filled this guy full of lead, right? And you know, of course, the world, it brings up the sort of dynamic of when a parent has the opportunity to eliminate someone that has done that to a child or chases them out of the house mid-act and then doesn't act like this. The world wants to see lighter sentences, right? I remember when there was a Russian guy there was a prolific Russian PDF file that had 6 children, literally 6 children that he'd in a basement, and this dad got wind of it, and the dad accidentally beat him to death by hitting him in the groin so many times with a pipe. And the Russian population wanted him to have the most minimal sentence of murder.
It happened in America. A guy did the same. I think he shot someone who did that to his son.
Yep.
And when he went to court, he got a life sentence but suspended.
Okay.
You know, and that's just, isn't it? I remember, true story, going to a call in Tottenham as a child protection officer, and it was a Jamaican family, big Jamaican population in Tottenham, and the call gets family have caught a PDF file, right? So there's this family gathering, and one of the uncles was caught fiddling with one of the girls in the family, and we turn up at this house, dead silence, right? The little girl victim's there, and one of the gentlemen elders of the family said, right, this little girl's this is what happened to her, and she's like, yeah, so right, we're going to need you to be interviewed and keep that sterile. Where is the suspect? And we go in, and there is this guy sat in a chair, and he's barely alive. Every single bit of his face has been punched. It was just this mass. It looked like he'd been hit by a train.
Yeah.
And he went, he's going to admit to it. And he couldn't even talk. He had no teeth.
I was going to say, he's going to have to write it down. It's going to be a written confession.
Yeah. He went, yeah, I did it. And we went, okay, fair enough. Like under arrest, boom, get in the motor. And they said, the family said, he doesn't want to go to hospital. There's nothing wrong with him. He feels fine. He went, yeah, I feel fine. Right? He was battered. And we get into the custody suite, and the custody sergeant went, what the F has happened to him? And we told him, and he went, well, do you feel okay? So he went, yeah, I feel fine.
Yeah.
Right,
I just had it was a really hard sneeze. It was a really hard sneeze on the way over here. And
and it was like, yeah, he's all yours, lads. Do what you want with him, you know. And we interviewed him, and honestly, they've obviously said to him, if you come here, then you're dead, man. You know, you put your hands up, you go to prison, because the moment you're out, you're dead.
Isn't it incredible, John, how these big, scary, dominant men that prey on kids become such putty so fast?
Yeah, because that's what they are. They're bullies. You know, they are, but they pick on kids.
Oh, yeah.
They're victims. They're like, I'm frightened. I said, well, frightened what? They pick on kids.
Yeah. They are top-tier bullies. The first, they're the top of the bully ladder. Underneath them, rapists. Underneath, it just goes down. You just keep going down the ladder, baby. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a dirty, dirty climb, shall we say? The levels of depravity.
This is what these people are like. They're, you know, they are cowards. They prey on frightened children. It just has to stop. It just, I can't say it enough. I don't know. But you know, with justice comes healing. And one of the first things people would like this charity seen and heard is to be heard. Just be that voice, and for once be acknowledged for what you went through. It must be so relieving for people that are suffering addiction and all sorts of trauma because of what they went through. And you know, if anything, there's got to be a consolation there. There's got
what you said earlier, John, about when you met that heroin addict and you changed your mind on him, right? I just want to say to everybody, right? I've had a bit of a interesting life with things, and no one sits down on a Saturday night who's got a great life, turns around to his mates and goes, "Hey, shall we take a bunch of freaking heroin?" For no reason. Like, no one's doing that. Okay, like it is. It's a result,
like that scene from Pulp Fiction,
right? Yeah, but you got to understand. No one is really wanting to become a heroin addict. They're trying to mask trauma. They're trying to cover up pain, and you know, those are serious chemicals for really taking you away from reality in a way that is the only option for some people, John. Right? I mean, I can't fathom. Like, again, I am so riddled with guilt, John. Like with wearing one pair of socks more than the other. Like, so, trying to fathom what children have to deal with.
I mean, as an adult, you can reason and rationale, and you can say, well, it wasn't my fault. But a child, how do they piece this together in their head? I can always remember a convicted
devil's dandruff.
That's like cocaine, isn't it?
Yeah. The best one's booger sugar. That's the best one I've ever heard, man. Booger sugar. Yeah. Brilliant.
I mean, a PDF file contacted me and wanted me to interview him, and I in the end I decided not to, and I should have done, really. He'd abused his own daughter, and he said, "You hate me?" And I was like, "Well, no, of course I don't hate you. Why would I hate you? I don't know you. I hate what you've done."
That's the Christian in you, okay? That's the Jesus element of you speaking out there, bro.
You know, hate the sin, love the sin.
Hell yeah, we hate you, okay?
I don't know this guy. Of course, I don't agree what he's done. It's abhorrent. It's appalling. It's wrong. It's disgusting. It's dirty, and you know, and you should be punished for it. You know, and all that. But why?
Yeah.
And he then went on to tell me his life story. It was awful. You know, at the age of 8 years old, he was in a kid's home. They used to fist him. 8-year-old boy. His colon collapsed. They punctured his bowel.
It's a real sad story. And you know what? There's people out there that will listen, and they will have this feeling of, oh, you went through this, I'm so sorry. Great. So now he's a fully grown adult and he's making choices to rape children. That's where my sympathy
of course.
Abuse goes right out the window.
We'll get to that. That. And then he turned around and we'll put him in a cage, and they would film the home had an Alsatian, and it would do things to him, and they'd do everything else. Anyway, it culminated in him being used to stab a prostitute to death. It was just sickening, right? Yeah. He then went on through his adult life, and he had a child, and I knew what he'd done to his child, because it's a common trait.
What job did he have? What job did he have?
I'm not going to go into it. And I said to him, but you know, what's happened to your daughter? Did you get punished for this? And he went, yes. I went to prison and I did this. He said, I'm not after any sympathy at all. I don't want people to like me. I just want people to understand what creates people like me. And I get that.
Yeah, people like you. People like you create people like you, Mr. PDF file. People like you create people like you. We get it. But I'm sorry, if he's grown up to get a job, find a woman, have a family, there is evidence of cognitive
see, this is so I had this conversation with Corinne.
Yeah, okay.
I said, Corinne, what do we do with people like this?
Correct.
What do we do? How does this, do you know what I mean? There's got to be some sort of solution. And she says, yes. She said, you can actually prevent 90% of them from reoffending.
Okay.
And she said, in order to work with these people, because she is one of only 6 professionals of her standing that will work with child murderers, because she deals with child murderers. Okay. And she said, I do it so I understand them, I prevent them, and I can help people catch them. Yeah, and that's the angle I'm coming from, because John, I would sit down with the PDF files, I would give them a cup of tea, but they had to admit to what they've done and provide me with information of others.
Yeah,
and
John,
that enabled me to do it. That was my point.
No, John, that wasn't a I've done the same thing, bro. I've sat down with over 100 active predators, not ones that have been caught, ones that are out there active on encrypted networks on the dark web, having the same discussions, but they ain't been caught. They ain't guilty, right? They're active. You learn, because for me, you learn nothing from the lion in the zoo, right? You got to see the lion in the wild. And I had a very, you had access to people in a room with a cup of tea. I had access to people on the dark web, which is a different set of demographics. But I learned exactly what you said. You learn everything from them. You learn how to identify their patterns and their routines, but also the vulnerabilities that they look for in children and women in order to gain access. But man, I am not here for their sob stories. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, and nor should you be, because they're manipulators.
Yeah.
And they will rely on that. And they all come that. The first thing they do when you arrest them, they're like, thank you for arresting me. Thank you so much. I need you to stop. I'm glad, And you think, oh, that's a bit compliant. It's a ruse and it's a lie. Because they are manipulators and masters at manipulating the emotions.
Yes. And listen, I used to have this thing where the PDS would email me for this documentary, and I'd get 2 types of email, John. I'd get one email that was 2 paragraphs long, okay? And I'd get another email that was 14 pages long. And the first 12 pages were, oh, woe's me. This is why it's okay that I did this. No.
And the other thing is, they have to put right what they put wrong. They have to. And the victim should have a say in the punishment.
Oh, I had a great idea the other day, right? So you know how they talk about chemical castration, right? I seen a documentary about a guy who had to have his legs and lower half amputated at birth and lived a totally normal life, John. So I'm thinking we just take away from the hips down and turn them all into the skateboard people that push themselves along with their hands. Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. But the thing is with that, the mind will still want to abuse.
Doesn't matter. They're so low down now. A 12-year-old could punt them like a rugby ball. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But there's 2 elements, right, to criminality. It's called the actus rea and the mens rea. Yeah. One is the physical and one is the intent. And the 2 have to combine in British law, in common law, in order to have a whole offence. So you've got to have both things in place. So, it takes a very certain special person. There's a guy who's written a book called Living with the Beast. His name's Terry Ellis. He's a lovely, lovely man. He's an ex-armed robber, born again Christian, good guy, tough guy in his day. And there's a prison. What's the prison? Come to me in a minute. There is a prison that has this program where in order to get out, you have to go through group therapy and you have to discuss your crimes. And the majority of them were PDF files. So he had to, being a survivor of the care home system himself and a tough guy, sit and listen to these people and what they want to do. Because what they get caught for might be, I don't know, watching voyeurism, say, for instance, in a playground, But when you get into their mindset, they actually want to abduct and murder and mutilate and masturbate over that whole, crime. Yeah. And that is when you realize the severity of this. And this is the one thing when you start dealing with offenders of that caliber, and you start doing training with therapists and profilers, you realize how dangerous they are. But then you also need to know what brought it on. You need to know the whole thing, the whole everything. And in no way is this sympathy for that at all. But it's like you're saying, you need to study and understand so they don't get away with it.
Correct.
So they don't come the nonsense in a court and they hoodwink the 12 members of the jury who start sympathizing with them.
Yeah.
Because they offend for one reason. Because they want to. They want to.
Yeah.
They have a choice and they choose to do it. And it's as base level as that.
Well, listen. I have this thing, John, right, where I'm on my spiritual journey, right? You've taught me a lot about your faith and your dude, Big JC, right?
In the house, yeah.
And in the house. And after this show, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things because I had a couple of epiphanies, right? And it's amazing that ways of life, religions, or other cultures, when they try and integrate in some ways with other cultures, there's this problematic shift where 12-year-old girls are being attacked in the park. And do you know what's interesting for me, John, right, is the blatancy, okay? It doesn't even seem like a lot of these individuals are trying to hide it, you know? And it doesn't matter if you're an Englishman who's, a homeless dude on the street who stumbles up and attacks a woman on a night out. Doesn't matter if you're illegal or a legal immigrant. Doesn't matter who you are. It seems to be now that the opportunistic predator, not the career predator, the opportunistic predators seem to be amping up, in my opinion. The groping, the amount of times you hear about girls being arred in bushes and in parks seems to be back in droves now. I spoke to a friend of mine who lives down near Essex, and they're at a point now where on a Friday, Saturday night, there is 4 groups of 4 dads and 4 husbands walking around the town centre, just making sure people are...
You're getting such a huge amount of 30-year-old testosterone-filled men that have come from these, I don't know, what do you call it, patriarchal sort of societies, with no recourse to the women. I mean, it's only common sense that before too long, there was an interesting thing about India and the amount of RAPs that go on in the rural communities. And it's because of they started getting access to the internet, and they started watching, pornography, and the rural girls and the rural guys are now seeing, all this and just thinking that's what women are, that's what women do, and the amounts of our cases are just rocketed. And when they sit down and interview and talk to them, this is what their thought process is. This is what women want because we've seen it, on the films and all that. And
that's because they're dumbasses. Okay,
you're
dumbasses. Listen, I'm sorry if you were so back in technology that you've just got the internet now, but get a grip. I tell you what, though, John, big shout out to Bali this week. Have you seen what's been going on in Bali?
Yes.
One of the British icons, Bonnie Blue herself, took the Bonnie Blue bang bus to Bali. Now, John, there's some interesting laws in Bali, John. One of being pornography is illegal, right? We're talking illegal. And they've got laws there based off moral acts, okay?
Yeah.
So basically, if you're a girl who goes on the internet now, John, let's just talk about this for a second. Imagine I'm Donnie Blue, right? Not Bonnie Blue, I'm Donnie Blue. And I go on TikTok and I go, right, girls, all you little school girls who are turning 16 this year, come and meet me in the Donnie Blue bang bus. Because that's what she did. She wanted all the boys, the schoolies tour, John. She actually, I need to put the microphone further away. She actually called it the schoolies tour, right? And she's driving around with this bus for people to bang her in. Goes to Bali, mate. Dunzo. app there talking about making an
they-
example of this woman.
Well, is the Muslims aren't going to have it, are they? And they have the moral police. And there's a I don't know what that. There's a girl.
It says predator or entrepreneur down at the bottom here.
There's a girl in Turkey who did the same. She made herself the Turkish Bonnie Blue, and they nicked her straight away. The police. She put out this thing. She's going to go and do this to 100 men. Yeah. And the police went in there and nicked her, and they said, for the safety of our morals,
15 years.
And they banged her up.
15 years she's looking at, John, in a Bali prison. Well, I'll tell you what, they should put her in with the men. She would have the lifestyle that she's always wanted.
And all that money she's made, and her parents said we're behind her, and everyone interviewing her. You know, they've just encouraged her, and look what's happened now.
Oh no, John, you thought it couldn't get any worse. Wait till you see this. So, have you ever heard of a guy called Bevo?
Yeah, he's that idiot, isn't he? That eats food in one.
That's right, John. Now, imagine the conversation, okay, between anyone that you know and their mother about you starting your mum's OnlyFans account.
These are twisted people, aren't they? You know?
John, no, you're skimming over it too fast. It's too traumatic and you're not wanting to focus on it. He sat down with his mother and his mum said to him, hey, I think I'd like to start an OnlyFans. Can you help me? And they've been on this social media campaign of him looking for guys. Wait for it. Waiting for guys to come and ramshank his mum. This is 2025, bro. This is 2025. We've got the Schoolies Bang Bus tour, and we've got Bevo's mum getting ramshanked and her son promoting it.
But the problem is platforms like TikTok pay handsomely for this behavior, don't they?
Like, I just can't. I remember when I was about 12 and I was in primary school and I learned about the birds and the bees, and I thought it'd be real funny to discuss this at Christmas dinner when my granddad was there, who's like a war veteran from Poland and was in his 80s, and he was mortified at me talking about this, but it was hilarious. I was 12. I thought it was hilarious. But the concept, the concept of mum.
I deal with a lot of people have been in and out of prison and things like that, and I talked to one lad. He's not been over here long. He's from Afghanistan. He's an Afghani.
Yeah.
And his dream is to have it off with her.
Who, Bonnie Blue?
He heard about her in Afghanistan. I went, "You're joking me." No.
Listen, I'm not being. I'm not going to criticize.
I think he came over on a boat.
No,
and he just wanted to come over and have it off with her.
Well, listen. If you're going to have dreams, that seems like a good one to start with. I mean, that's an achievable goal. That's an achievable goal.
Focused and driven. Yeah. He's a man of his word, and I don't think he's done it yet. But that's on his mind.
Dude, I mean, like, you see, but that's another culture thing. That's the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale skin. It's that allure from a lot of cultures, and I get that. But I'm not being funny. Like, there's something really off about this woman's face. Her skin's it's like she's got too much skull and not enough skin.
It's very tight, isn't it? Yeah.
Right? It's odd, but I tell you what. Did you see the conspiracy about how she was
a bloke? Yeah. She's a bloke, yeah.
Honestly, it's ridiculous. But the Bali point was the main point of this. But the Bonnie Blue lore, just insane. Because if that was a bloke, I say 24 hours after our first post on social media, found crippled at the bottom of a canal. That's what it would have been. Okay. It's the double standards, bro. And you cannot tell me that just because you're a tight-skinned, blonde-haired chick, you are not normalizing the problem that we're talking about here.
Oh, she's abhorrent.
When you have a word like schoolies.
But as much as we want to earlier on about these guys that are coming over, predominantly a lot of them are coming from Islamic countries. It takes an Islamic government to put an end to curtail her. Why didn't a Christian, backed system like we've got put an end to it? We didn't. We allowed it. Whereas the Muslims, they're not having it. They're saying no, ain't going on. And you've got to say well done to them for that.
Yeah, I'm so since the last time we discussed the French tourists and what's going on here, I am so done with listening to everyone's crap. I don't give a shit about any other country until Britain is sorted. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. I want my women, my children, my people safe with fucking Christmas trees.
I remember in the 70s going on school trips to France, and we all had to get off the coach and go through the checkpoint, and we were all searched, little kids, every one of us has searched our bags, and we had proper border controls. How can you bring over 50 men in a rubber dinghy? I worked on marine intercepts for 4 years. It's the easiest bit of policing going. They ain't going anywhere. As long as you've got a faster engine than them, you're going to catch them. They ain't going anywhere.
You could take every overweight uncle in France, give them a lilo and a fucking mop with a pen on, like a pointy tip, bro, and just have them floating out at sea stabbing boats. Problem solved. A long piece of barbed wire, mate, would do.
It wouldn't take much at all. It's the easiest thing to do is a marine intercept. It's a piece of cake, and they're just not doing it. They're just not doing it.
Well, hopefully, we're trying really hard to get, I think it's either the former or the current Prime Minister of Poland to come and have a chat about how the European Union has shifted towards seeing him as an advisor now on how to deal with migrants.
The European Minister, Dominic.
Yeah, he's literally the most Polish-looking Polish man.
Funny enough, I bumped into him. I was doing a podcast.
Oh, yeah?
And when I walked out, the studio, and he's there having a cigarette. And I went, "Is your name Dominic?" He went, "Yeah, Dominic." And I went, and I explained who I was, and he said to me, he said, "What do you think of your government?" I said, "That was
another cigarette and get a coffee, mate."
And,
yes.
and then he said something interesting to me. He said, "Do you think Nigel Farage will do it?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Your alternatives have no infrastructure." He said, "It will only ever be Tories or Labour in your country because your alternatives have absolutely no infrastructure to them. They will not last 5 minutes in the murky world of politics." And do you know what? Sadly, he's probably right.
Nah. On that one, you got that one wrong. You got that one wrong. I'm putting all my hope in anything but the Tories. I would happily have that guy that has the bin on his head. Okay? I would happily have that guy.
I'm not saying I like them because I don't. And I can always remember when I was having political assistance and my MP, who was a cabinet minister for policing and crime, Sir Michael Penny, and he's a good guy, you know, and he turned around and we went, "John, there's just as many old Etonians in the Labour Party as there are the Tories." He said they're all the same. They're all cut from the same cloth. He said it's just a big game to them.
Of course it is. Okay? But I'm not being funny. What's going on, John? Like, we elected Labour in, and now I'm not being funny, man. Like, the amount of stabbings, the amount of crazy nonsense that's on public transports. We have had the first or the second Christian Christmas fair having a car plowed into it and kids and families getting injured. I'm sorry, but I said this. Let me just finish this point. I need to ask you and the audience. Let me just finish this point, Jordan. So I need to ask you, well, where's the line for you? Is it going to be when Sharia law kicks in and you're woken up at 5:30 with the Muslim call to prayer? Will that be the line for you? Is that when you're going to try and make change? Is it going to be when your kids have got to wear burqas? Is it going to be that? Is that going to be the line? Where's the line?
I think me and you have already drawn the line, and we don't agree with any of this. But the thing is, I work with these lads, these young Muslim lads, these migrant lads, and they have no loyalty or affiliation to this country. None.
Of course they don't.
Absolutely none. And in fact, they like me because I'm all right, but they have a hatred, and they say, "Soon, John, it'll be us for you lot." Meaning,
right, it will. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And I tell you what, get yourself prepared, okay?
Well, I said to one lad, he's second generation Iraqi, so he was born here, but his parents were Iraqi immigrants, and he went, "Your lot," they just see it as your lot, and they said, "You totally effed our country. So if you make me conscribe to your army, I'll get a gun and shoot you lot, not my own. And there was one kid.
Been saying it for years.
He was a black lad. He went, I ain't fighting for Britain. I went, well, what nationality are you? He went, Jamaican. And I was like, well, let's break this down. It turned out his great-grandfather and grandmother were Jamaican. So there's been these 4 generations, whatever, that have been British. And I said, you're more British than I am. You know? And I said, so how can you say that you're Jamaican? You're
There's
not.
no reasoning, John.
4 generations
no
British. But his
reasoning.
mentality was that there was no loyalty at all to the United Kingdom.
Mental health is a terrible thing, that we have imported French tourists that have all got this consistent mental health issue that manifests from an apparent age-old religious way of living. I ain't here for it. I ain't here for it. I'm done with it. I'm done talking about it like it's not a problem.
What is a joke is that I've just come back from a weekend in France. I went to Dieppe, and I got on a ferry in a car, and the customs turned up, right? And they were like, wanted to look in the boot, because you're not allowed to bring back cheese or meat.
Right?
You're not allowed anymore. It's banned. Because we're not in Europe, we can bring back a shed load of wine and beer, but we cannot bring back any cheese or any meat. And they search your car for cheese and meat, right? And I'm thinking, this is mental. You've got all these officers on cheese and meat patrol.
Cheese and meat patrol?
Yeah, the other side of the fence, the other side of that fence, there's dinghies full of men,
John,
illegally, just slowly at 4 knots an hour, like a little pedalo boat, blatant with high-vis inflatable vests, making sodding off to United Kingdom. Each one of them breaching a plethora of laws, both local and international and British as well. But you do not bring back any cheese or any.
I tell you what, John, if I was an eccentric billionaire, the sort of crap we'd be doing would be John and Ron race back from France. You go on a dinghy, I'll try and get back with cheese and bacon, and we'll see who gets home first.
Well, what we could do is I bring back loads of people, and you bring back as much tobacco and brandy as you can, and see who gets caught and gets banged up. Because I tell you what, it will be you and not me.
Oh, no, I'm bringing Pokemon back, man. No tobacco and brand. I'm bringing the Pokemon back. If you want to talk real smuggling money, it's the Pokemon smuggling. No, I'm not.
But it's organised criminality, and if you don't think, because I watch these videos, it's only one in so many that gets intercepted by the Coast Guard and the lifeboat. They reckon subscription to the lifeboat has gone down. People are just withdrawing their subscription to it. Because they're like, well, you're just facilitating. But majority of these boats, they turn up at certain beaches, I think near Deal in Kent, and they just bugger off, right? And they're picked up by coaches or whatever by other gangs. But do you not think that they're not bringing back kilos of heroin?
Obviously.
Firearms, of course they are.
Obviously, you're smuggling people.
Doing it.
You're smuggling people. What difference does it make if you've got a couple of AKs and a couple of kilos? Like, you're already smuggling people.
Well, the other thing is, Ron, right? If you're a gangster, because these are gangsters, this is I was told it's the Kurdish mafia. They blame the Albanians for everything, don't they? Obviously, Albanians.
Yeah, either way, Albanians and Kurdish, you don't really want to mess with them. No, just public. Just see, they aren't the fun cartels.
I was told, because one of the lads I deal with, he was a coxswain for it. It's the Kurdish. And they used to bring the heroin. Now they bring the people. Right, now, if you haven't got the money to pay for it, you can earn that, can't you, surely, by bringing a couple of kilos of the brown powder, which the Kurdish are well known for importing anyway. That was their mainstay of criminality, of funding it, was that brown powder. Or like you say, a weapon of some sort. There's a good market value, and that will pay for your
John, what about a different business model? What about the money that you would have paid to get over there? You're going to work off in the army that will be rising up in Britain. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, it's going to happen, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, John.
But and people have been warned. But what gets me is the hatred that they harbour. They'll like you as an individual, which they do with me, and I have very open conversations with lads, and most of them are very likeable, nice lads. But they have no loyalty. They don't like this country, at all. They don't like the system. They don't like what the Americans have done, bombing their countries, and there is that ingrained. It's a bit like akin to, you know, the Catholics in Belfast that they had towards the Brits. It's that ingrained hate you.
That's okay.
I'll live off your system, but I do hate you.
You know what? I will, anyone who has horrible thoughts against Britain, all of that, I completely back your thoughts. And if you wouldn't mind fucking off back to where you were and continue having your thoughts there, and then reapply legally to get back into the place you hate. Because otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. If I kick Asda's doors open at 4 a.m. and walk in because I want a Mars bar, I'm going jail. I just want the same laws for our borders.
I saw a really good bit of footage, and it was one of these the boat people. It wasn't the UK. It was somewhere like the Czech Republic or one of them Central European countries. And he's walked past a police car and he's banged it on the roof and called them pussies, right? And they've got out and just smashed his head in. They got out and just kicked the daylights out of him. And then you see it in the UK and they'll smash windows of police cars and the police reverse and drive off.
Yeah.
And that's not what we pay police to do.
Listen, John, like, I remember when I was a kid, right? Policemen were like fully grown adults. Most of them had mustaches, right? It was a thing, right?
Yeah.
And now, man, like, I understand it. The doctors, physicians, and policemen, people just want to be influencers. I get it, right? The pool of people is low, all right? But I mean, Jesus, I mean, at this point, like, having iPads rolling around with the public voting on Twitter whether or not someone should be arrested seems like a better fucking solution.
I was with a friend of mine driving back, and we were drinking a can of beer. I don't know whether my can of beer had alcohol in it or not. I'm not too sure.
Right.
Anyway, drinking it while driving. A police car was there. He went to police. I said, listen, in my day, that little dot on the radar, they'd be after you. Whether you're doing something wrong or not, at night, on your own, you are getting stopped, end of. I said, listen, they ain't going to bother. They're both going to be fat. And I'm telling you now, the one driving won't even look at us, and the other one, I bet you, is on the phone. Sure enough, they pulled up. It was a fat woman driving it, and a colleague was a guy, and he was on his iPhone.
Brilliant.
And we're both drinking a can of
brilliant.
beer.
Big shout out to the useless officers of Britain. Okay.
And I'm not knocking the good ones, because there's some good ones. There's some real
crazy. There are some good ones, yeah. There are some really good ones.
But unfortunately, you're out of date. You should have been in it when I was in it. When you know, we were a force to be reckoned. We were actually called a force, you know, not a service. We were a force. And we did a lot of damage to people. And we did. You know, people got a good beating. Most of the time it was just
glory days.
Oh man, honestly, you cannot imagine it.
John.
But when you're not used to it, you're thinking, and the thing is with it sort of isolates you, because if you told anyone, they'd be horrified or they wouldn't want to hear it, you know. And it was only the other police officers that understood, and it depended where you worked. Because I worked a really rough part of London, it was a game. And it was who got the first punch in. Either you hit them or they hit you.
Yep. And
they would wait for you to hit them. And they're like, are you an idiot? Why haven't you not hit me yet? And then you'd get smacked. And it was your fault because you should have hit them first.
Yeah, but listen, CCTV, mobile phones, body cams.
Yeah, it's all gone.
Different world now, man. Different world. I tell you what, John, I'm really tempted to have a few drinks one night and use that AI video making software to make the series about your earlier years in the cops of just mustached badass policemen dealing with the situation. 100%, mate.
Oh, it was just, and you know, when you watch them old series, you know, like Life on Mars and The Swing, you have to laugh because it was so like it. It was honestly the Sweeney. There was political pressure put on it because the police were starting to copy it instead of them mimicking the police. You know, it went the other way. Jack Regan had such an influence; he caused a lot of violence against the public. So they put pressure on Granada TV, I think it was, to stop producing the Sweeney because it was too influential. And here's a fact for you. The Notting Hill Carnival kicked off one year, and it descended into absolute chaos. And my colleague, when I joined, he must have had 25 years, and he joined in the late 60s, early 70s, in the crazy times. And he said to me, when the Notting Hill Carnival kicked off in 1978 or whatever, and I went, yeah. He said, it was such awesome, big, massive tear up. He said it was a really, really hot day. He said it was bank holiday, and he said they took us. There's a school in sort of Westbourne Park where they would feed you, where you'd go and get your meal, or their big feeding centre. All the police buses would pull up. He said they got us in there. They gave us a big plate of stodgy fried food. It was a boiling hot day. We've got all of this food with a pudding. We're all burning up, young, fit, strong lads, burning up with this energy of this crap they're giving us. And then he said video recorders has just come out. He said they played the film Zulu, followed by an episode of The Sweeney. And then it went, right, lads, get out there and police. And he said, we just went out there and it just all kicked off. He said it was just, talk about conditioning. They played the film Zulu and then an episode of The Sweeney where the Sweeney beat crap out of people. And then they went, right, go out and deal with the crowd. And of course, the rest was history. And you couldn't make it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a common statement that we use when we're referring to a lot of the history of this, John. And it's nuts to think. Actually, I mentioned this earlier. I think we're at a point now where people have gone through many decades, of listening to excuses and seeing the absolute nonsense.
Yeah,
conspiracy become conspiracy.
A guy that I know Shaun's interviewed him, and I know the guy, and I speak very highly of him. He's an ex-gangster from Toxteth.
Okay.
Talking called Stephen French, aka the Devil.
Yeah, Frenchy.
And Stephen French, he sort of takes the pride in the fact that he was one of the ones that sort of spearheaded the Toxteth riots, which were the most brutal inner city riots Europe's ever had. But he gives a pretext to it, and it is the years and years of repression, aggression, racism, all of this that the black youth of Toxteth had to put up with. Yep. And it culminated in them having this unique opportunity of getting together one day, the police doing something they shouldn't have done, and the firework got lit. And it's very interesting, he's very articulate, intelligent guy, and I really do rate the fella. I know there's some people that question him, but I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy too. I think he's a good guy too.
Yeah, he's very good to get on because he's intelligent and he's very pro the youth and positive change, and I'm all for that.
I definitely wouldn't piss in his cornflakes. I'll tell you that right now. I'm glad he's on our side. You know what I'm saying?
Man, he's a machine. Yeah, he's a machine.
Yeah, serious freaking machine, bro.
He's a real deal. But he's highly intelligent.
Yeah.
And he explains what the repression and the inner anger and a common purpose, when it all gets together, what it culminates in. And he does it in a really articulate, elocuted way. And I think there's a simile in the indigenous population in this country and how we are treated by the governing bodies. We're very much like, in a way, his cultural group in Toxteth in them early years. We're just being repressed and put down and humiliated. And it's only going to end one way. And it's going to end up in this ignition of emotion and just hatred, I suppose. I don't know. It's horrible to say it, but you can see it happening. The writing is on the wall. And are they listening? I think they're deliberately ignoring us because they know this is going to happen.
Yeah, and listen, it is going to happen. It is going to kick off. Ireland have already sent out a pretty stern warning. I mean, have you seen what's happened?
Yeah, man, that's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, do you know, first of all, do you know how difficult it is to find woolen balaclavas that thick anywhere else in the world, John? Ireland have a different class of woolen balaclava.
But what they've done is they it's really interesting. Someone said this to me about investigating. go for the individual, and they've gone for the individual. And they said, if you're the one that's proposing this, it's you, not your organisation, you. And a guy told me something about that. He was a traveller, gypsy boy. And he said, when you're dealing with the gypsies, it's not my cousin, my brother, my mother. He said, it's the one. You must only deal with one gypsy because you'll get fobbed off with the family, my cousin. He said, no, one. You hold one person accountable, and then you can negotiate. Otherwise, you'll get fobbed off. And this is what the IRA have done, or whatever this faction is. They've just made individual accountability. No, you are vicariously liable as an individual.
Oh, listen, when three dudes in, like I say, balaclavas, and they've got like pew-pews in their hand, and they say, hey, we've got the addresses of all of our government officials who are making these decisions, and if you continue to do them, things might happen. I'm not being funny. Britain knows that they don't. The Irish don't mess about.
They've got a track record of doing that, haven't they?
Yes.
They've got a proven history. And now you're getting, the two opposing factions teaming up for a common purpose and saying we're both fed up with this. I spend quite a bit of time out there now, and I end up in East Belfast quite a bit. And you see these signs on there about landlords subletting to the migrants and building companies, that are doing works in these places and all that. And they put warnings out there. Any firm that's linked to this, you're a legitimate target. And they put the signs up on the lampposts, and so they have a history. But over here, we're very
what do you think about it? Like, let's just have the conversation now hypothetically, right? This isn't. We're not trying to encourage anyone. We're not doing any of that. We're not advocating anything. But do you think we're going to start seeing a snowball, John? Do you think we're going to start seeing, other groups forming? We've seen the first...
and the other thing which is worrying as well, with the groups that I talk to, and I say to them, "Who's your enemy?" And of course they don't like, us, the Western side. But the other two groups, and I'm going to say this verbatim, and I don't mean this in any way to come from me because it's coming from them. They say we hate the Jew and the Batty man. So there's a massive undercurrent of anti-Semitism and homophobia.
Of course there is.
Massively.
Of course there is.
Very open about it.
It's anything outside their own book, John. Anything outside that book, bro.
And I say to them, why? And they say, because they control everything. They control everything. And the lads were saying to me, we were talking about race riots, right? We have these open conversations. And I said, why did you smash up your own community, right? Because there's people in your community who fought hard, and they're working class people. Why'd you do it? And they said, John, that ain't happening. The next riot that we have, we're going to the wealthy Jewish areas and we're going to take from them. And that's what they tell me. So, there's a warning there to society. You need to listen to these tension indicators, as the police used to say, because they're there. So these wealthy suburbs are not going to be safe. They're not. These guys have got it in their head. That is their enemy.
Nowhere is going to be safe. Okay?
Yeah.
Because these attacks on the more affluent areas start and are planned from the bottom areas of society.
Yeah.
And
of
by the time it reaches the mansions, the council estates, the people that are on the lower end of things, they're done, mate. They are screwed.
Yeah, well, and it's multi-layered, it's multi-headed, so it's not just one enemy. There's many enemies that they've got, and there's many groups that will fight against it. So it's very complicated what's going on. And then,
John,
of course,
as a Christian, if you had to flee the UK as a refugee, would you go to another Christian country or one of 56 Islamic states? Where would you feel more?
Well, I wouldn't go to an Islamic state because none of them are democratic. None of them.
Well, here's the thing. So why are all of these individuals who are walking from like Egypt and India and all of this stuff not trying to get refuge in a state that facilitates their needs?
All Islamic countries are republics. So no, I want to live in a democracy.
No, John, the joke is it makes no sense for them to come here. It makes no sense.
Well, of course not. But
you've got to walk through like 2 Islamic states to get here.
Yeah. And well, you've not got to do that. You've got to cross the busiest shipping lane. You know, we're in the middle of an ocean. You know, we're like a little rock in the middle of a pond.
I will say this, John. If you are a guy who can prove that you've walked from Kenya to Britain, you've got no sexual crimes and no like history of violence, or you're just a normal guy who walked from Kenya, I'll give you. We should hear that guy out. Anyone who's walked from Kenya and is a normal person, I'm okay with them. Okay, because that, I mean, Jesus Christ, how determined you have to be to walk here? Like that's all I'm.
Stout pair of boots, wouldn't you, for that one?
Freaking telling you. Well, listen. Before Ron descends into half an hour of ramblings, I want to speak to you after the show as well for a couple of minutes, John. I'm going to be live at 10:30 with over on my channel. We've got the invasion of Britain, substances, pew pews, and terror people. Welcome, Britain 2025.
And can we send out another apology to Mr. Terry Nutkins?
Oh yeah, Mr. Terry. Massive apology to Terry Nutt. I would just like to remind everyone, this is Terry Nutt, nice gentleman.
Yeah, you know, doesn't bother dogs.
Loves dogs. Here he is. Here, this is how you should handle a dog, here. Okay, we were referencing this man. Okay, and you think that's a crocodile, but sadly,
does bother dogs. He
does. Yes, he's looking at this crocodile and thinking fleshlight. That's what he's thinking. All right.
Yeah.
Sad times. So if you want to come and join me over on my channel. Thanks for being here, for everybody. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the Shaun Attwood channel. John and I will see you next week. And
And can I say thank you to all those that have supported me through my endeavours over the past decade. It's culminated now in this brilliant change for good, I hope, you know.
Yeah, totally, man. Plus, we're coming up to JC in the house birthday, man. Big time for you. Big time. Big time for the JC crew.
Right, yeah,
too right,
yeah, the governor himself. So
the governor.
We await his return.
I love it. Oh God, we're gonna. Yeah, okay. Listen, I will see you all next time. You're all legends. See you over on my channel in 15-20 minutes. I should give you the link. That would probably help. And then I'll end this, John. 1 second. Here is the link for my show. See you over there. Thank you all for being here. Peace.